Okay, I would like to maybe try to discuss a few ideas that exist over here in the Torah, that for those that know the Torah, it could be something that could be moisef. From the other side, those that don't know the Torah so much, so they should be able to connect also. So I was thinking about a few ideas. One of them is the idea, the way the Rebbe expresses what Daas is in Torah and Vav. Now, if you would ask somebody, what does it mean, Daas? Daas, everyone, looks like everyone understands the same idea about, everyone has the same Daas about Daas. Daas, what's Daas? Say, he's a Badas, Ochkan Daas, he has Daas. Daas is like knowledge, but not, it's different than Chochmah. Chochmah is like very, it's a big Chochmah. Daas is like, you don't have to be such a big Chochmah to have Daas. A person expects from his child, from his son, to have Daas. A bissl seichel. Daas is something that everyone can understand what Daas is. But if you talk about it in a deeper way, what's Daas? So then you start touching Pnimius Torah, and there's a lot of Svarim that write about Daas. There's Chochmah, Bina, Daas. You could set it up. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. There's a lot of ways how to give a deeper explanation in what Daas is. But I think that the Rebbe in Torah and Vav gives a new touch to understand what Daas is. And for sure, if we can understand what Daas is in a new way, that means that we'll be able to use the main idea and the main purpose of Daas, which the main purpose of Daas is Ladas es Hashem Yisborach. It's not just to be a Badas, how to make right decisions in life. To have Daas means to know, v'yodata. You should know the Eibishter. And like the Rebbe says, when the Rebbe is speaking over here about HaStarah, the Rebbe says that someone that's in HaStarah, HaStarah, the Rebbe says, by the HaStarah, dahainu she'einu yodea klal she'Hashem Yisborach nista mimenu. Az ei efshar klal limtzo yosef. Ma'acha she'einu yodea klal ma'Hashem Yisborach. He doesn't know of the existence of the Eibishter. So Das and Ruchnius means how much more you understand, you know, of the Eibishter's existence. You know, you accept it, you understand it, you realize it. That's called Das. Now that's called Das in any way. That doesn't have to do with Torah and Vav. In any Chassidish or Pnimis Dekuah in Kabbalah, the idea of Das, the mile of Das, is that you know the Eibishter. But I think what comes out very special from Torah and Vav is that the Rebbe explains that knowing the Eibishter is not something that, it's something that you could know it like you know any other idea in the world. Like if I say I know somebody, so that means that I know him in a way that I could explain what I know. If I know somebody, that means either I saw him, I met him, I heard him, I read his book. So I have a connection with the person, I could say I know him. But the Eibishter, the truth is, it's not shaykh, someone should say I know the Eibishter. Because how could you know him when he's something that his existence is not something that could be understood in a tfisa from a ben enosh? Like the Rebbe himself says over here in the Torah, that the Eibishter is Chaya Chaim, and if we wouldn't have the Kelim, which that's the Torah, the Midos, we wouldn't be able to understand and have an understanding in the Eibishter. But the Kelim that the Eibishter gave us, that's the Torah. The Rebbe says that the Torah Dikdusha, those are the Midos. Why? Because the Torah is built in a way of midas. Everything has a midah. There's a parsha, there's a posik, there's a ois. The way the Eibishter brought down the Torah, that everything is based with midas, those are the kelim that we should be able to put the Eibishter, his existence should be able to, we should be able to acknowledge it through these kelim. Now we can understand right away that it's, in other words, it's a tzimtzum. And the Rebbe says also over here the word that the Eibishter was mitzamtzum, his or. And this idea that the Eibishter, we should be able to have a connection with him, that he was mitzamtzum himself into human kelim, that human people should be able to have a connection with him. That's an idea that's around all over, in all Chassidish Sfarim again, in Kabbalah and Primus HaTorah. The idea that Ben Enosh can't really know the Eibishter straight, like you know something else. But what you could have is a kli that's mitzamtzum, and through the tzimtzum, you're seeing it through the midis of the kli. You're not really seeing the thing itself. You can't really see the Eibishter mamash. You could see an example or something that could explain you what the Eibishter is through the kelim that the Eibishter gave, which the kelim are the Torah. But that's still something that's not the main point in Torah and Vav. What's coming out in Torah and Vav is that the way a person starts recognizing the Eibishter starts from a way that he starts recognizing the HaStarah. That means it's like you start seeing the Eibishter through that you start feeling that there's something that's hidden, something that I don't understand, something that I don't see. And you understand that what you don't see, that's some higher spiritual thing, which that's probably the power that's beyond everything. That means through the HaStarah, how much more you recognize that whatever we're seeing in life is HaStarah, that's getting more knowing, that's getting more Daas in knowing the Eibishter. The raya for that is, first of all, for those that know the Torah, because the Rebbe says that there's two HaStarahs. One HaStarah is that you know that the Eibishter is muster. A person knows a lot of times that the Eibishter is muster from him. And there's HaStarah, that's worse. That means that a lot of times a person doesn't even recognize the etzem HaStarah, the etzem idea that the Eibishter is muster from him. He doesn't even feel that. That itself is muster. It means that's HaStarah b'toich HaStarah. And the Rebbe says that everything, it looks to him like Einu Yidea Klal Hashem Yisbarach. That's HaStarah b'toich HaStarah. The regular HaStarah is, the first HaStarah, is someone that lives in a life that he knows that the Eibishter is muster from him. And the Rebbe says that when you get out of that HaStarah, and you know that the Eibishter is muster from you, you go back to the first HaStarah. So the Rebbe says that's called Shiur. Yoideya al kolponim shenista mimenu. The Rebbe makes a whole idea of this kind of Yoideya. It's called a Yoideya. Yoideya is a Daas. Yoideya, the Rebbe says, al kolponim shemusta mimenu. And when the Rebbe brings the example of the difference between one HaStarah to two HaStarahs, to the idea that is people like it says, Ova v'shono nasa lekeheter, the Rebbe says that's the first HaStarah, nasa lekeheter. But if he does more averos after nasa lekeheter, then it's not even, nasa lekeheter means he knows it became a heter. He knows it's a dova also, but by him, he's not so connected to the isser of the thing, so it became to him like something that's mutter. But he knows that it's a mistake. But if you go down more, you do more averos, the Rebbe says, even the nasa lekeheter, you forget the feeling of nasa lekeheter, v'nasa k'misha gomu. And then the Rebbe says, but once you go out of that HaStarah, the Rebbe goes again, he says, al kolponim yoideya shenasa lekeheter. The Rebbe makes a whole idea about the yoideya shenasa lekeheter. And the Rebbe says that once you know that the Eibishter is muster from you, that's called yoideya Hashem Yisborach. Now, if you think about it, why would I know that the Eibishter is muster for me? That's all what I know about. Why would that be called something that I have das, and I know that there's an existence of the Eibishter? Because I don't know anything about the Eibishter. I'm saying I just know that the Eibishter is muster for me. So that means nothing. You know nothing about it. But the emes is
and why would it matter?
Huh?
Why would it matter?
Right? Why would it matter? But the truth is that once a person says that he knows that the Eibishter is hidden from him, that means he knows that he exists. You cannot have a feeling of the Eibishter, that the Eibishter is hidden from you, that you don't understand the Eibishter, if you don't have a feeling that he exists. Because if you don't have a feeling that he exists, it wouldn't be a feeling that he's hidden from you. It would be like HaStarah shebetoich HaStarah. That means I don't even feel anything is hidden from me. I don't know anything. just like someone that mamish is rochoik moed, like a goy that doesn't b'chlal know and think there has to be even a reason for an existence, that there should be a God in the world. So it comes out from Rav Torah Nunvov that the skadmus that a person could have in knowing the Eibishter is how much it goes more into his mind, and he sees time after time as he does the process that the Rebbe explains here in the Torah, what brings the person to know more the Eibishter, which that's what the Rebbe says, learning Torah b'peh. When a person is learning Torah b'peh, so the Rebbe explains that he's kollel Toras Chaim, he reaches out and brings in the chiyas from the Eibishter into himself, and through this process that he's learning Torah, he's a whole time more Yodea Hashem is Baruch. Why? Because the whole time he's megala more the HaStarah. And like the Rebbe talks the whole time here about the idea of legalis HaStarah. That means the idea of Daas, if I want to put it into an experience of a feeling, what does it mean, Daas? Daas is a gilui. It's a feeling that something opened up now. It's not like if I would say that the light over here in the room is a gilui. It doesn't sound, what do you mean it's a gilui? When the lights were closed, it was dark. Once you open up the light, now it's light. It's not a feeling of a gilui. We're not living here like I think I feel something, how do you say a gilui in English? Revelation. It's not a feeling of a revelation. But a revelation in light could be like an example that the Rebbe brings here in the Torah when the Rebbe wants to explain about the Ribi Or. The Rebbe says a ner. The Rebbe says Ribi Hashem and Mechabes Oir Ner. A candle in a dark room has a message. It's not just that it's nice. What's nice about a candle is that it's in a dark room and it shows the niceness. It's not just that. The idea is that a candle is something that's showing you a whole time the difference between light and darkness. So it's revealing itself a whole time. Without a candle that it moves back and forth, it gets schwach and gets stronger. It's a whole time, it's light that's fighting through the darkness. The same idea, what comes out from Torah and Vov, that knowing the Eibishter, Daas, being close to the Eibishter, is like something that it's a whole time like a gilui. And it's not that once you have the gilui, so you're there. It's like, oh, it's light like here in the room. No. You keep on fighting for light, for Daas, in life, for lightness, for connection with the Eibishter. It's like a candle that you have to keep on giving it chaim. Like the Rebbe explains over here in the Torah, those that learn the Torah, the Rebbe says the idea of rabbonos mekaveres is baleo. That means the usual matzav is that everything's going l'tzad misa. Life, the Rebbe says, when the Rebbe speaks here in Torah and Vov about the guf, the Rebbe explains that the body of a person, for itself, if you just let it lay, it becomes mu'upish. What's the word mu'upish in English?
Moldy,
rotten. What keeps the body from not getting rotten? The Rebbe says there's a ruach hadoifik, the heart, the ruach hadoifik. The ruach hadoifik pumps the blood, and the blood goes through the body, and that doesn't let the body get rotten. So that means that the way the world works is that everything's going l'tzad hamisa. The guf is going l'tzad hamisa. The Daas is going a whole time l'tzad HaStarah. Rabbonos mekaveres says baleh. You have to pump in life into the situation. If you pump in life, so you could live. If it's not that you don't do anything, I don't have to do averis, or I don't have to do something bad to my body that everything should go to l'tzad hamisa. I don't have to do something for that. Just let everything stay the way it is, and don't work on pumping in life and pumping in lightness. Everything is going to go l'tzad hamisa. So when we're doing what the Rebbe is teaching us in Torah and Vov, the simple eitzah, which that's the eitzah of learning Torah b'peh. If we're doing this eitzah, what we're doing is we're bringing in life into the misa. We're bringing in Daas into the HaStarah. The way the world is created is that everything is going to HaStarah. You look at the world, everything shows something else than chutz from Kil Hashem Amlucha, like the Rebbe speaks over here. The world for itself looks like something that's going and running by itself, and there's other powers, other energies. You could live a life over here and mamish be certain in the way you're living. And there's no need to know about the Eibishter, to know about there's a God b'chlal. You could explain life in so many nice ways. Psychology. People live mamish a life that's disconnected from the Eibishter, and there's nothing in the sense that should pop up automatically and prove the person that it can't be. It can't be that this world is just something that happened. And you have all these ideas. Like if you ask someone a deep question like, did someone create the world? We have a beautiful answer today. It's, how do you say teva?
Nature.
Nature. And it's accepted in the world. No one thinks it's a stupid idea to say, what do you mean nature? Well, who started the nature? What do you mean? Nature started itself. And that's actually the Pesius, what the Rebbe is speaking over here, that when that story becomes very big, it's the hefech from the Chochmah, it becomes Pesius. Pesius is not stupid, being stupid. A Pesi is someone that talks normal, and he sounds normal, but when you think about the outcome of what he's saying, you say the person is a Pesi. So that the idea of HaStarah in this world is that the world disconnects everyone from seeing the Eibishter. And the avodah from every person is to bring in the Daas, to know the Eibishter through these HaStarahs. And when you megala the HaStarah, that means you understand, you start feeling all of a sudden that whatever we're seeing around us is an HaStarah. That means you know the Eibishter. And how much more you understand that, you know the Eibishter more. That's called Daas. So if someone's going to ask a young man that's learning Torah and Vav already 3 months, what could he say about Daas? Young man, I'm a Chabadska, I learn Tanya, I learn Kabbalah, I learn Prince of Torah. What do you say? What's the word Daas? There's no reason to give him explanations that Daas is that they start talking about spheres, which everything is true. Talk about spheres, where's Daas, the third mid, the Tiferes. The first thing is to understand the basic idea of Daas. Daas, lo Daas es Hashem Yisborach means that you know, you have the kli to understand how much He's behind everything. You could feel it, you could sense it. That means knowing the Eibishter. So that's an idea about Daas. Now, if we understand that what's challenging the Daas in a person's avodah is the HaStarah, like the Rebbe says. The Rebbe brings the pasuk v'anoichi aster ponai. There's a certain thing in the world that the Eibishter brings in, that there's a koyach of HaStarah, that's master, and that's the hefech from the Daas. The Daas over here in the Torah, the Rebbe called that's the chochmas HaTorah. Because the kelim, the midas of the Torah bring in this Daas. And the hefech from the chochmas HaTorah is the Pesius, which the Rebbe says that once a person learns Torah and he awakens the koyach HaTorah, so then HaTorah machrezes kamayu ad mosai psoim tahavu pesi. The Torah itself starts talking to the person. You just have to learn Torah, read Torah, understand basically any idea in Torah. And once you get that connection with the Eibishter, you connecting to the Eibishter through Torah. It doesn't make a difference what part of Torah. The Torah itself starts talking to you in a very deep way. I mean, you could be learning now a sugya in Gemara, Shiur, Shenogach, and Sapara, and you're thinking about the Shiur and the Para. By that time, the Eibishter is talking to you in a different language, in a deeper language, and he's giving you Techocha, and he's giving you Musa, which means he's putting in Das into you. He's awakening you with Das. But this Hefech Das that the Torah could bring, the Rebbe calls it HaStarah, and the Rebbe calls it Pesius. And that's why the Torah, when he wants to awaken you, he screams, Ad Mosai Psoim Tahavu Pesi. Which in a certain way we could understand also, just like we explained, that knowing the Eibishter means understanding the HaStarah. To understand the Torah is understanding and knowing the Pesius. A lot of times a person, the connection to the Eibishter starts from understanding the Pesius that there is in Taivas Olam Hazeh. How do you say Nemichus? Nemichus, something that's low.
Humility, humble.
Low. A lot of times a person see how low, how low Taivas could get. How a person himself could get driven down so low that from there he wakens up and he starts feeling that there has to be something higher than this. So it means that I didn't come to the highness because I all of a sudden saw something higher. I just bit so deep into Olam Hazeh that the afsius that there is, the nemichis, the proskite, the pesius that there is in that kind of life gives you, it awakens you, just like to start understanding, just like we spoke, that once you understand that there's Hastora, you understand more that there's the Eibishter. It's the same way as also about Taivas and about knowing the Eibishter. That how much more a lot of times a person recognizes how stupid the Taivas are. And it's a fight. It's a fight that you have to, it's not one time like you recognize, oh, I got it. Yeah, I got it. I'm 40 years old, I got it. It was a big mistake. This whole world is Hastora, all the taivas are gone, shpitnisht. It doesn't work that way. It hits you once, and once it hits you, you start gaining weight. You wake up and you're looking for something more spiritual. But again, it's the contrast. Since I recognized the pesius, I heard the koilad mosai psoim tahavu pesi. I heard that, so then all of a sudden I say, so there has to be something different. So I start looking more for the Eibishter, looking for ideas and a lifestyle that has more das in itself. And that's how I start connecting to the Eibishter.
How do I acquire das?
How do I acquire das?
Go into more tavis. You're not born with it, right?
So the Rebbe says over here, a very simple eitzah. Just like most Torahs in the Kutam Moran, that the Rebbe speaks about the deepest ideas, but the practical thing that he tells you to do is very simple. That's a basic thing in the whole of Kutam Moran. He could speak to you about very high avodas in Pnimis HaTorah and Kabbalah, but then he gives you like a simple thing what to do, which I'll tell you what the simple thing over here is. But what's nice about it is, different than in other svarim, that when you learn the Torah, so when you're doing this simple eitzah, it's not like a sgula. Like alidei zeh zoichel zeh. Like when I ask you how am I zoich to Yerushalayim, alidei shenoi since doke kol yom lifnei shachis zoich Yerushalayim. How would it be zoichel lishomer menachet? She zoich lekabel Shabbos. He should be mekabel Shabbos 20 minutes before. I'm just making up stuff like that. We have a lot of things that are sgulas that they could give a very big power and a koyach to be matzliach in a ruchnisdik way. But the difference in the Kutam Moran is that the Rebbe tells you the simple eitzah, but the Rebbe gives you the deepness that's behind it, behind the eitzah. So then when you're doing the eitzah and you're connected to that deepness, you understand it, it's a different eitzah. It works different. It's not just like a sgula that you're doing. If you're zoich, it's going to work on you or not. These are eitzahs. The Rebbe, the way the Rebbe is saying that his eitzahs in the Kutam Moran is always, he gives you eitzah pshuta and he gives you the deepness and the niceness and the beauty. Why this eitzah could move everything. And once you live this idea, you're living it a whole day. It's not like you're doing the eitzah a whole day. You're living the eitzah a whole day. And through the eitzah, you're mamish connecting to the deepness of this idea. Now I'll answer your question. The Rebbe says over here that through that a person learns Torah bepeh. He talks out the words of the Torah. Through that, he gets das. We'll explain why. But that's the eitzah. That means if I want to be Zeh Torah and Ruvav, I want to make a shortcut and say, listen, I'm not so much the guy to sit and learn Torah and Ruvav, be in 3 months of Torah, or here for your Torah. You got to be really, it's hard to learn here for your Torah. What's the tachlis? What does the Rebbe say? I'm a Breslov, I want to do the Rebbe's eitzah. Okay. Just have every day be moise v'hoilech in this idea, in this eitzah of learning Torah and saying it out bepeh. But since the Rebbe explains why it works, and the Rebbe explains it so nice, and you connect to the idea, you can mamish start feeling while you're doing the eitzah that you're feeling how it's working on you. Why? Because the Rebbe explains over here that das is chaim. Das is chaim, because it says a chokhmah techaya is baleo. There's a connection. Das is chaim, chaim is das. And the Rebbe explains about Chaim, that who's Chaim? The Eibishter. The Eibishter is Chaya Chaim. So if I want to have a connection to Chaim, I have to have a connection to the Eibishter. If I want to have a connection to Das, I have to have a connection to Chaim. That means I have to have again a connection to the Eibishter. So how does a person get Das? Through that he has Chaim. How does a person get to Chaim? Through that he connects to the Eibishter. But the Rebbe says that what should we do? That the Eibishter's lightness is so big that we can't accept it. We're humans. Humans are, their minds, what they see, what they knowledge, is put into kalim. The Rebbe calls it kalim and midas of human knowledge. The Eibishter is not something that's knowledgeable, because he's so beyond everything. He created everything. That's an idea that, you know, that we learned when we're bachim already. That we can't. The Eibishter is Ein Sof. In other words, the Eibishter is Ein Sof. So we can't. But the Rebbe says there's an Eitzah. How? For that, the Eibishter created the Torah, and the Eibishter created that the Torah, the way the Torah is built, it's kalim and midas, because the Torah has parashas and psukim and oisias. These are all midas. Every parasha is a parasha, another parasha, another parasha. It's kalim, it's gvulis and midas. All the gvulis and the midas of the world. A table has a gvul, a midah. From where is this thing coming that everything could have a gvul, a midah? This could be a round thing, this could be looking like this could be high, low. And the main thing is not just like it could be created in a physical way. How could it be that minds of people should be able to knowledge such kind of understanding? The way we're born, it looks like something that's natural, but we don't understand what kind of chesed it is from the Eibishter, that the Eibishter created in the human mind, that he could live a life that could know how to recognize things through midas. If not, we would be living like in some big ocean. There's no space, no time, no nothing. So, but the shirish of the whole tfisa from a ben enosh, to be able to understand midas and gvulos, is through the gvulos and midas that the Eibishter created through the oisias HaTorah. Because we know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu stakel b'raisa bar alma. The whole creation that we have is through actually the Torah. The Torah, that's the platform for everything. So the Rebbe says like this: the Eibishter wants us to be able to know him, to have Daas, to know him, to be able for the Eibishter to give us this opportunity that we should be able to know him. He has to make something that we should have kalim and midas, that we should be able to understand something that's not human. So the Eibishter gave us the Torah. And the Rebbe says, just like when you call somebody, you want someone to come to you, you call him by the name. You call someone, you want someone to come, I say, hello, Chaim, Moshe, a name of a person. When you want to call somebody, you call him by the name, because a name is a lot more than a name. But that's not right now for right now. But the Rebbe says, when you want to call someone, you call him by the name. The same thing when you want to call the Eibishter, that means you want to bring down the Eibishter into this world, you call him by the name. What's the Eibishter's name? The Torah is the name of the Eibishter. So actually in the Torah, that's his name, that his whole existence exists in the name. But by the way, one of the interesting, let's talk about the name if we're talking now, because this is something that it's very nice. The Rebbe says, just like when you want to call somebody, a person, you call him by the name, and right away he's available, the Rebbe says. Just that, in the same way, when you want to call the Eibishter, you call him by his name, which that's the Torah, and then he's available. So a lot of people ask, what do you mean when I call somebody, he's available? So what does that show? That his whole existence, his whole personality is in the name? You could think differently. You could say no. I mean, like if someone's standing over there and I say hello, I don't say his name, he's going to turn around also. So what does it mean that the whole existence of a person is in his name? Eino chanami, that if I call somebody by his name, he'll turn around to me, he'll be available to me. But the true idea is that in a name, the whole personality of a person, the understanding, the knowing, the knowledge of the person is in the name. Why? Because if I want to give an example about something, about a story, and if there's somebody that everybody knows him by the name, it's enough I say a story and then says, who? Like if I'll say, don't ask what happened today. Someone was standing in the middle of the streets, he was stopping the traffic, he was dancing, he was driving the whole city crazy. What? Well, why would someone act that way? And I say, you know what it is? I throw in his name. It's Chaim, I don't want to hit a name. So, everyone understands right away. If I would say right now that there was a big mashpia that came to speak in Muncie, and there was 10,000 people, everyone would say, wow, who's that? I'll say, Rabbi Biderman. How could it be that I just say a name of a person, and everything about the person we know already? Because that's the koyach of a name. A name has the koyach that if it exists in your head, So anything about the person, if he's a funny person, he's a big person, he's a strong person, he's a rich person, whatever, all the knowledge around this person is in the name. So the same thing is about the Torah. The Torah is the name of the Eibishter. And when you want to have a connection with the Eibishter, because you want to have Chaim, because you want to have Daas, you have to call him. And you call him through the Torah Shebepeh. So now, if a person sits down and learns Torah, like we said in the beginning, he wants to be Mekayim Deitza, but while he's learning Torah, he's mamish connected, he's learning Torah, and he feels like he's calling the Eibishter into his life. Because the Torah is like Kalim that are helping him have a connection and to search and to feel the Eibishter's existence. He will feel the Eibishter's existence more than someone that's just going to learn Torah without understanding what's behind the whole thing. So you have two people learning Torah. One person is learning Torah as a sgula, because you heard Rebbe Nachman says if you want to have Daas, learn Torah. And then you have someone else that's going to learn Torah, but he learned Torah Nun Vav, and he knows so much about what Daas is and how Daas could come into a person, what it's all about. So when he's going to learn Torah, he's going to be feeling the existence of the Eibush the whole time. Another idea that I wanted to talk about over here, which those that learn the Torah, it's for sure going to be a Te'elis, and again, those that didn't learn the Torah, I think we could try to explain.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Because it says here that you mentioned a thing that from the Hastora. Is it from the Hastora we learn more than from what we perceive as his galus? Is that what you were saying? Because it does say here that to get out of the Hastora.
Right.
So it seems that there's a higher goal,
right,
not to be stuck in the Hastora and know Hashem through the Hastora, but to know Hashem through the going out of the Hastora and serving Him.
right.
Illustrating.
Yeah, first of all, it's a good question. So I'll answer you. I'll answer you in this way. L'chayr, on which HaStarah is everybody. In the first HaStarah and the second HaStarah. Now I'm not talking about people that are mamish fry, that are not kind Torah mitzvahs. Regular from people. Are we in the second HaStarah, l'chayr, or not? By the way, stop, before I go further, it could be on matzav that are people on certain things they're in one HaStarah, and certain things they're in a deep HaStarah. Just like when the Rebbe brings the idea of Over Vashon and Asali Kaheta, so we know, every person knows that there's certain things by him that Over Vashon and Asali Kaheta. And Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of things that every person is different. There's certain things he wasn't Over Vashon, and there's no Asali Kaheta. But most of the people, I mean, eating a piece of chazas, he's holding before there. But there's certain things, but not just that Nasa Kaheta, there's certain things that Nasa Kamisha Gomel. Like I explained, if someone's used to in the middle of davening, you know what I mean? There's, a lot of times in shul, talking words in the middle of chaburas or shots, which is a lot of times it becomes like something that's he doesn't even nasa kamisha gomo by certain people. So the idea of HaStarah achas and shtei HaStarahs is not like you could put it down and say there are certain people that are one HaStarah, and then there's people that are on HaStarah shebetech HaStarah. Every person, his life goes through all these things. And certain things that are on one HaStarah, a lot of times we go down and we go into two HaStarahs, and then we go back to one HaStarah, things that were in two HaStarahs. It keeps on changing the whole time. But the regular process that a person is always in one HaStarah. Why? Because that's the way the Eibusher created the world. Because we spoke before that we can't have an understanding of the Eibusher because he's Ein Sof. But the Eibusher created Kalim and Midos, that it shouldn't be Ribi or if you remember, you learn the Torah, Ribi Hashem and Mechabes Eranel. Every Kli is a Tzimtzum. A Tzimtzum for itself is HaStarah. If a Tzimtzum wouldn't be something that's master, it would be like Ribi Hashem and Mechabes Eranel. So we all in a certain HaStarah. The whole idea the whole time is to come out of the HaStarah the whole time. And like I said before, it's not that you come out once. Like once I popped up out of the box, I got it, I'm here. It doesn't work that way. You come out and then you understand that, you start to understand that till now you was in one HaStarah, and you understand that how much more you have to go weiter and weiter. So even though the mashmois over here is that we have to come out of the HaStarahs, and there is a feeling in a person's avodah from time to time, and it could happen a few times a day, that all of a sudden you feel like you came out of that HaStarah and you feel like a gili. But it's for time. Because 10 minutes later, you're going to have to come out of the same HaStarah again and again. Okay, so that's the...
You're saying that even if he feels that his galus, but really that his galus is also in that symptom, which is also Hastora.
Yeah.
Then if he wants to steig more, he'll have to come out of that symptom and feel.
Right.
So the Hastora is Ad Ein Sof, just because the Eibishter is Ein Sof. And no matter how high he goes, no matter how many Hastoras he goes out of, there will be the next symptom, which is more, is the symptom beneath it, it has galus,
right.
but the Lamalu is
right.
It's that symptom.
Right. There always has to be.
So even though the Rebbe speaks about a virus, but the same concept is by mitzvahs that there's hasturas, there's tzimtzimim, and you have to go into a lesser of a tzimtzim and a lesser of a tzimtzim, Ad Ein Sof.
Yeah.
So that's the. Okay.
Another idea over here in the Torah is the way the Rebbe explains Malchus over here in the Torah. The Rebbe starts the Torah and the Rebbe says that every person has P'chinas Malchus in himself. But everyone is different. P'chinas, people that have small Malchus, Surah Bebeise, the Rebbe says. Everyone has Malchus. Malchus is responsibility, control. By certain people it's very small. He just has Malchus over his family, his children. But it's something that could grow. It grows the whole time. There's Sorry Hastora, as the Rebbe says, Sorry Meir, Sorry Alofim. And the Rebbe says the main thing about the Malchus is Shloi l'shtamish b'malchus l'tzorchei la'nosei. The goal that a person has to do the whole time is to make sure that he's not using his Malchus for his own personal needs, his l'tzorech, the tzorachim that he has, and for his anoah. Just what does he have to do with the Malchus? The Rebbe says the Malchus has to be given back to the Eibishter ki l'Hashem HaMelucha, because the Malchus is shaykh to the Eibishter ki l'Hashem HaMelucha. Then later in the Torah, the Rebbe
How do you return
through that you do it to Mazir Mechiach.
How do you return the Malchus?
That you do with the Malchus what you're supposed to do. What is a person supposed to do with the Malchus? The Rebbe says he's supposed to be Mazir Mechiach, all the people that he has an influence on them, and bring them Daas to know the Eibishter. That's what the Rebbe explained it. Okay. So there's two ways. One way is a person has Malchus, he takes it for himself to control other people for his own needs. And the good way is that any influence you have on other people is you do it to influence them and bring them in more Daas to know the Eibishter. But Behemshech HaTorah, the Rebbe explains something that is Malchus Dikdusha, Malchus Sitra. Two kinds of Malchus. And the Rebbe explains what's the difference between both of them. The Rebbe says both of them are p'china from Ma'asif. How do you say Ma'asif?
Yeah.
They gather. So whoever learned the Torah would recognize that it's very interesting. The Rebbe says that both Malchus the Sitra is a p'china from Ma'asif, and Malchus Dikdusha, the Rebbe says, also is a p'china from Oisif. So what's the difference between Oisif and Ma'asif? I want to go more just to try to touch a deep idea which everyone could connect to in the Avodah with the Malchus. The way the Rebbe explains over here, Malchus is there's two ways how Malchus could function. The way the Malchus, when it's not for the Eibishter, when a person is using the Malchus for itself, that's when it's called Malchus Sitra achara. The Rebbe says that the Tnuah of Malchus Sitra achara, what's behind the in the Tnuah of the Malchus Sitra achara, the Rebbe says a lashon like this. Umalchus, it's in Oisei, in the big Quran, it's in Amud Lamed. The Rebbe says on the bottom, Umalchus the Sitra achara, Uma'asef momen. The idea of Malchus Sitra achara is that he keeps on collecting money. He's scared the whole time they shouldn't take out what he has already taken in, swallowed in. He's scared they shouldn't take it out, so he keeps on swallowing more. כמבחינת הגוון נילוין שיש בזוב וכסף ונחוישס שהם המומוים וזה מבחינת טייבס השיר שבחינת מלכוס. Just make it simple. The Rebbe explains that the tnuah of Malchus Sitra, when a person is using it, is a feeling of someone that has fear that he's going to lose something, he's going to lose his energy, his power. The whole drive of Malchus Sitra, the Rebbe explains it, he's scared he shouldn't take out the chiyas that he has. The question starts, how does he have the first chiyas? The first one started also from money. It's just the same idea. How much more money you have, the money becomes an ability. It's not just once I want money because I want to be able to live. Then I need money to protect my first money. And now since I have so much money that I could protect my next 10 coming years, now I really have to protect this, because if I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose an income for 10 years. So what happens is that it pushes you into a circle that it keeps on collecting. And it collects itself in a way that it suffocates the chiyas that you have in yourself. Ki mitzad sheni, the Malchus Dikdusha, when a person is busy using his influence, not for himself, so the Malchus, the feeling of the life of Chaim that we spoke over here in the Torah, Chaim and Daas, it grows. You keep on, it's like something it's going bigger and bigger. It's called also ma'asif, but that's the difference. You're ma'asif and you're growing. But when it goes chas v'shalom on the way of Malchus Sitrach, when a person does it l'tzorchel anosai, so what it does is it starts controlling you. And that's when the Rebbe says that the Malchus Sitrach becomes ke'eved l'malis tavosai. And Malchus Dikdusha over here in the Torah says the whole idea is should be b'chinas ben choyrim. What's the difference? Because when the Malchus is Dikdusha, so you moisif das all the time, you moisif Chaim. Chaim is arichas yomim. Things get wider, they get bigger. The experience in life is like you're containing more. You're getting more and more into yourself. What this process of Malchus Dikdusha is doing, it's fighting the same process but in a different way. You're fighting something, a power in yourself, which is Malchus Sitracha, which is trying to take this power that you have and use it on you, and he's making you a eved. You're looking at it as, I'm growing. Through my Malchus, I'm having more influence, so I'm making more money, I have more people under me, I'm controlling more. But what's really happening is that since you gave yourself away to that need, that shibud of Malchus Sitracha, and you didn't give over your whole Malchus kilashem amlucha. That means whatever I have, whatever power that I have, I want to be part of the serving the kilashem amlucha. That means I have Malchus, I have influence, but that's what's nice about it, that I'm using my influence, my power, I'm using my money, I'm using my richness, I'm using it for the Eibishter. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy the money. That's not the idea. The idea is that I enjoy the money, but what I'm enjoying here is that I'm able to represent the Eibishter's melucha through my money. Like if a person makes a nice shul, and he makes a nice kiddush, so no question about it, he's enjoying his money that he made a nice shul. And he's enjoying the money that he was able to give people food. But the feeling inside is a feeling of growing. His malchus, his money, his chaim, his das is growing. But this is a fight that we spoke in the beginning. Das, this kind of malchus, is a daily fight, because you're fighting an HaStarah. And the HaStarah is a certain energy inside you that whenever you have this feeling of malchus, it wants to take you to a different place, to disconnect the feeling of using the malchus for the Eibishter. He wants to take you into ke'eved l'malos tavoser. He makes you a eved, he makes you addicted to it. And just like an addiction, that when I get addicted to something that I'm drinking, so now I felt very good from this drink, and I'm scared I'm going to lose that good high feeling, so I take another drink. That's the same idea with Shiur shelo yotziu bilui mipiv. The idea of Malchus Sitracha, which the main Malchus Sitracha is in the moment. Why in the moment? Because in the moment, all the taivas exist. If a person wants to come, to have control, to be able to have whatever he wants for himself, kol tzorchoi v'alanosoi, the easiest way is to have a lot of money. Because if I have a lot of money, with money you could buy everything. So that's why in a deep way, the Sitra Achra pushes you into going with this way of searching money, because the money is like protecting me all the time. It's like if I have a need to drink a lot of alcohol, and if I want to have my good alcohol that I like, and the tasty one. I want to have my good vacation that I have like last year. And I want to go to the country where I went 2 years ago with all my rich friends. So that means right now, I'm just serving my avdus. That means that this feeling has to keep on living. He has to feel that he could have the same lifestyle that he had last year. He could have the same drink that he had 5 minutes ago. So to be able to keep this lifestyle on, that's what the Malchus Sitra is fighting. And in that way, the Rebbe says, he's mamish meshabed you, and he brings you to Misa. Harabonus mekaveres es baleo, because he sucks out the life out of you. Because you don't have that kind of rachvis, that kind of chaim, that kind of das, and you pumping into you. You don't have that ruach hadoifik like that. There's a ruach chaim, a ruach hadoifik that's fighting the ruach haipush from the guf. But it's fakert chaz v'sholem. So the koich haipush from the guf, the misa is fighting the chaim. It's suffocating the chaim, the chiyas. It's closing up on it, and it makes it a shibud. And that's what the Rebbe says, and be Messiah Be'ez Hashem, right? The Rebbe speaks over here in the Torah about 3 pchinos of noshim. And one of the pchinos the Rebbe says calls noshim ki noshani shenosh gvurasa. That means the Rebbe speaks about a certain matziv of HaStarah. The Rebbe says, what is HaStarah? HaStarah doesn't mean just, I don't know the Eibishter. A person could be in a weakness, in a ruchnius, and that itself is HaStarah, because since he's weak, he's shvach and fighting his Yetzirah, so that means the Eibishter is not in his head. He doesn't think about it. Not because if he would have think, there's certain people, even if they would think about it, they won't know there's Eibishter till they won't learn. But there's a lot of people that they learned. We learned Torah, we knew the Eibishter, like the Rebbe says. We were not close to the Eibishter. But since it starts becoming that he gets oiz geschwacht from the Yetzirah, tosh gvurasoi, the gvura, the power, the malchus gets oiz geschochten. So the person, he knocks out, he blinds out the Eibishter. He doesn't think about the Eibishter, because when he thinks about the Eibishter, his conscience wakes up and he starts feeling not good. But from where does it all start? The Rebbe says, shetosh gvurasoi. Why tosh gvurasoi? Tosh means oiz geschwacht. That's the shibud. That's what the Malchus Sitra does. The Malchus Sitra that keeps on driving you with this drive to run after the money, to run after everything that you shouldn't losing out. That's the feeling. That's the vibe that I'm talking about myself, my experience. My experience of what you smell it all over here in America. It's like everyone's in a vibe of missing out, losing out. Everyone's making money. What am I doing? What am I, stam a worker, a simple guy that's making money for Panasa and happy with his life? Something doesn't make sense. I feel like a fool. He bought this house, that guy bought that house. Everyone's moving ahead. I'm missing out. And when he puts you into that drive, he could get you on that drive. But the end game is going to be that he's going to suck out the chiyas from you, the das from you. You're going to become an eved l'malis tavosai, and you're going to be living in a Mordechai Hastora.
How do you connect the Daas to the Malchus Dikdusha? Like, what's the Sitra? What's the...
You learn the Torah? It's a beautiful question. That's one of the hardest questions over here.
Oh, okay.
No. It's one of the hardest questions over here for those that learn the Torah. Is if the whole idea over here in Torah and Vav.
Why do you call it Rabbanus?
The Rebbe says that if a person doesn't use the Malchus for the Eibishter, what happens is it's a pchina from Rabbanus, mekaveres es baleo. The Rebbe brings the Chazal. Rabbanus is a pchina from Malchus. Rabbanus is like a shtela, you know what I mean? He has a shtuk of Malchus, he has a koyach. But one of the interesting questions over here is, if the Rebbe brought such a beautiful idea about Daas and about HaStarah, it's a whole idea for itself, why did the Rebbe have to start the whole idea of the Torah through the Malchus? So the truth is that everything, the end game is through the Malchus. That means all these high ideas that we're talking about, Daas and HaStarah, where does it play out? It plays out how a person simply uses his Malchus in life. That means the way a person uses his koyach, his Malchus, his influence. First of all, the influence that a person can have on himself, that a person has to have against his own taivas, the influence that a person has on his family, on friends, and everyone has an influence on somebody in some way. In this game, the way you're playing it, if you're taking it for yourself, everything, or you keep on thinking the whole time, okay, If it serves the purpose of the Eibishter, and this is all every second. I mean, if you're sitting talking to somebody, and the guy enjoying talking to you, and you're feeling all of a sudden that you don't have time and patience to the guy, you're also in a challenge here, like of Malchus. Like one way, I have an influence on the guy. The guy likes talking to me, so I could talk to him, make him feel good, and that way I did my job. And I used my influence to be in Mekarv, to bring him Daas and lightness into his life. So it served the purpose of Kil Hashem Amlucha.
So that battle is never ending, just like this HaStarah is never ending. Correct.
Yeah, right. So this is it's a battle. It's a battle that keeps on going on. But let's make it in a sweet way, right? Like all the Rebbe's things. The difference in the way the Rebbe gives us to understand spirituality and things that we have to do in life is that he lets us understand it in a very high level, but he gives us to feel how easy and how sweet the process could be. It's not like making it like, oh, when I was talking about Taivas, I have to get out of the Taivas. I have to get out of the Hastoras. They're gonna patch me in Gehenna. This is a fight that's not gonna stop. I'm 50 years old already. I didn't do it till now. There's no chance I'm gonna be able to do it now. That's not that feeling that the Rebbe gives you. The Rebbe takes you like a real Rebbe that loves you, an emes Rachman, like the Rebbe calls himself in the Kutamran, with emes Rachmanis, with Ziskait, and he shows you the way, and he does it so sweet that the Rebbe doesn't say a word of Musa. The Rebbe once said, there's a Sicha, Itamol gehert from Musa. Did you guys ever hear Musa from me? The Rebbe never speaks Musa. You know what the Rebbe does? He sits and learns with your Torah and Vav. When someone's sitting learning Torah and Vav, it's the Rebbe talking to him. Now the guy's learning Torah and Vav, and the Rebbe's also talking about all kinds of high ideas. And you're telling the Rebbe, one second, I have a few problems. Before you start talking about the mikveh of Shavuos, which is Chesed, Elyon, Rachman, I'm addicted to a few things. I don't know if you know, 2024, it's a little different generation. So maybe we start to, Rebbe, if you want to deal, you want to help me out, let's go down, let's talk about grub. Let me go down and talk about my Averis, my Taivis, my Hastoras, my Kas and everything. Why are you talking to me? This is like deep Kabbalah. I'm not there. And even the simple things that you're talking to me, there's this, Yesh Hastora, Achas, Shtei Hastoras. Rebbe, I'm in the 30th Hastora. Who's talking about the second Hastora? You know what the Rebbe does to you? He says, listen, forget about everything. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to give you Musa. Let's sit and learn. Yeah, I want to talk to you about the mikveh of Shavuos. And while he's talking to you about these nice ideas, he's working on you. You don't feel, you think you're learning now a big sugi about Shavuos. What's the difference of mikveh of Shavuos to mikveh of the whole year? It's true, you're thinking about that. But the Rebbe is doing a process on you. And after 3-4 months, if someone's learning a Torah L'kutam Ran, he has to change. Because all of a sudden, you yourself, it's like the Rebbe speaks here in Torah and Vav, that the Torah itself, machrezes kamayu, admosai psoim tahavu pesi. There's all of a sudden a feeling, you walk around in the streets, and all of a sudden you have more koyach in yourself. And when you see something on a sign in the street, all of a sudden, since you're going with Torah and Vav, and you're living the Torah, the Rebbe's Torah, all of a sudden you're able to say, what? Admosai psoim tahavu pesi. You say it to yourself a lot easier than you was able to say it before. A year ago was a fight. Every time I had an assignment, I had a fight back and forth, yes and no, and it was a whole thing. Like you come out of it, you come out exhausted. You say, okay, you know what, I made it this time, but no way, next time I'm going to be able to do this. But when you learn the Rebbe's Torah, the Rebbe takes you, he treats you. It's like he puts a medicine into you. That all of a sudden you walk in the street, and if you meet a challenge or a taiva, it's all of a sudden becomes easy. It's like you hear the voice, no, you hear the shtus of it. You chap, you see the shtus of the taiva. You chap how easy, how it's nothing. It's a game. It's a this. These are koiches that the Rebbe brings into learning his Torahs. So we should be matzliach be'ezer Hashem to be machadash ourselves to the Rebbe's Torahs. And now that we're starting again be'ezer Hashem with the new chachas, to bring in Yungalai to learn the Torah, to live the Rebbe's Torah, to live it. That's the idea. To live it, to think about it the whole time. And through that mamish, everyone can mamish have a Yeshua, beruchnis, begashmis, and befrat lefi Torah and Vav, the way the Rebbe explains, that if you have a Yeshua beruchnis, if you have Daas, you have panosa benoku, you have sholem, you have everything comes along. And like the Rebbe once told to one of his chassidim, he says, you think I don't want everyone to have beautiful houses? The Rebbe says, That's what the Rebbe says. I would want everyone to have beautiful houses. The Rebbe could give us everything. If he gives you Daas, and he gives you spirituality, he gives you Chaim, you could have money, you could have richness, you could be happy, you could have everything, and you can live with everything you can live and connect with the Eibishter with everything. And that's the main deep idea of today's avodah. Today's avodah is not the avodah that I shall live a life that I don't know what money is and I don't know what food is. I never heard that something called a steak. I never heard that. That's not the idea, because it's not the way things work. The idea is whatever you have in Gashmis, whatever you're enjoying in Gashmis, enjoy it, but put the Eibishter into the picture. Show the Eibishter that you enjoy. You're so happy to be part of His Malchus. So everyone's enjoying himself. If the Eibishter is Kol Hashem HaMelucha, so I'm allowed to enjoy myself also. But everything should be connected to the Eibishter. Should be everything b'siyata d'shmaya.
Gewaldig.